Hey, friend. Welcome back to the Side Hustle Growth Podcast. I am so happy that you are here and that you clicked to enjoy this episode because by the end of this, you would have all the tips and tools you need to create a safety net for your side hustle. What do you mean by that, CJ? Let's jump right into it. Creating a safety net is about one of the first things. It's about understanding the need. Yes, you want to make sure you're putting something aside for a rainy day, but imagine life is going along fairly smoothly. How long does that last? And boom, something happens. Life throws you some kind of curveball, something unexpected happens, be it in your side hustle, you lose a client, for example, or a really big sale doesn't go through that you're really hoping to get those funds, or something happens in your job or just in your personal life. For creating a safety net is not just about the cushion, it really is about that peace of mind. So should something unexpected happen, you have been preparing for this. You have been mindful that things don't always go according to plan. And because you've been preparing for it, you can show up with ease in your side hustle. You can show up more confidently. You're more motivated to show up. You're more motivated. You're not hustling out of like desperation and fear because you know that you have something put aside. You're hustling with strategy. You're hustling, you're being mindful. You're not hustling for that matter. Yes, you have a side hustle, but it doesn't always feel like a hustle because it's not always about the money and generating the income. So understanding the need to put something aside for a rainy day, for that emergency fund, so you can have that peace of mind in life in general, as well as in your side hustle. The next thing you want to understand is now that you're sold on the idea of creating a safety net, and of course, I'm sure you're creating a safety net. I'm sure you're putting something aside for a rainy day, or at least you're doing your very best, be it like $10, $20, $100, whatever amount that you can afford to put aside regularly. Now let's talk about what actually goes into a safety net, because it's not cookie cutter. It's not one size fits all. You start where you can, even if it's just to cover a few months, even if you can just see it out for 3 months or 6 months. You're aiming for a year, however long you want to, just to be able to tide you over should a client not come through, or they want to delay a payment, or you can think of this as your little cushion. The next thing is having a backup plan. So sometimes this is like a what if. What if those clients don't show up the way you want to? You're not converting the way you want to, or your offer isn't selling the way that you'd hoped, or that launch didn't go the way that you planned, and you had worked so hard on this launch, and things are trickling in slowly but surely. But things just aren't selling the way you want to. Maybe you can think about some alternative strategies. Is there a new service that you can offer, or maybe you need to repackage your product or your offer? So are you sure about your ideal client? We always talk about understanding your ideal client. Are you trying to sell to your ideal client? Are you focused on the right client base, your target audience? Maybe you need to revise that as well. A good backup plan isn't just about assuming failure. It's about preparing for those possibilities, understanding that there are possibilities. And these aren't just quick fixes that you can pull out when suddenly you have to put in extra hours at your 9 to 5. Is a way that you can automate parts of your side hustle so it doesn't feel like you're always scrambling. So it doesn't feel like if you don't show up or you don't do certain things in your side hustle for a week or 2 weeks, there's still things flowing. You've created a system and things are still flowing on the back end. Are you able to delegate? Maybe you can find extra help, because yes, you want to be able to save money, but sometimes having someone to help you to do certain things in your side hustle that you can't, and they can help you to make the money. Yes, you can pay them, and also you can put a little bit aside. But remember, the main thing, the most important thing, I should say, is building a safety net isn't a one way thing. It's regularly review, adjust it. Safety is a key word. And net, you think about like something that catches you if you were to fall. Safety net. So your priorities might shift, and that's okay. But as your priorities shift, so must your safety net. Your safety net will continue to evolve. So, on that note, let's share a couple stories, client wins. One client, for example, she was killing it in her side hustle. Things were flowing. She was seeing it as a thriving business. She was managing her time. Her marketing was working really, really well. She was attracting her clients. And then some restructuring happened at her 9 to 5, which meant she became a little bit busier. And because of that, and because it took away time from her side hustle, she had to press pause on the side hustle, and she wasn't generating the income as she would have liked to. But because she has set up the safety net, that also means it came with some options. And she offered like a smaller, low commitment type package until she was able to navigate her new responsibilities at her 9 to 5. Also, while being able to, although she had to cut back her hours with a side hustle, she was still generating an income in her side hustle. But with that adjustment that she made, when her side hustle was doing really, really well, she was covering whatever expenses she needed to in her side hustle. And from her income, from her profit, she was also putting something aside. So she wasn't as panicked. Now she had to cut back on the hours in her side hustle. She would still be able to bring in some income without overloading herself, because again, her 9 to 5 had gotten a little bit more demanding, and that meant it took away from her side hustle. So that really just is talking about the power of preparation. Yes, you want to generate consistent income in your business. Yes, you want to be able to forecast, and you want to be able to ultimately walk away from 9 to 5 if that is your goal. It also is always important to remember to always look at your numbers. Be realistic with what you can manage, what you can handle, what you can bring in when you do work on a side hustle, when you do have to take a step back. When you were generating income, you're putting something aside from your profit. It doesn't have to be a large amount, but when you can put something aside, you are putting something aside. So when you step away, should this happen, like this client, when you have to step away from a side hustle, offer something like with less hands on until you can get back into it. You're not feeling as panicked. You're not feeling like you have to scramble. You're not feeling like you have to put your side hustle on the back burner. All those really scary things. I hate having to use the word back burner, but it does happen because things aren't happening as quickly. And because, with managing your expectations, there might be a lot more going out than coming in. These are all very realistic. These are all possibilities. I could think about another client where she was ready with everything and it was just crickets. But she was also able to, from her 9 to 5 income, she was putting aside a little bit. So she had a smaller, you can say, emergency fund. So she didn't feel too scrambled. And she just had to evaluate, to give her time to take a step back, evaluate her approach, figure out some tweaks, and without the fear of everything collapsing. It's not about a nice to have. These aren't nice to have stories. This is just showing you that having a safety net, being able to navigate, starting one, maintaining it, so that should something come up, you can still function essentially in your 9 to 5, as well as in your 9 to 5, as well as your side hustle, as well as your personal life. There's so many different things that come into play in life as it is. So always knowing that you can have that peace of mind is so, so, so key. Another important thing to take into consideration now with creating a safety net is navigating crisis. Because let's keep it real, things aren't always going to run smoothly. So being able to pivot or adapt, not having to cling to a plan if the plan isn't working, being willing to shift gears and really adjust. Having a safety net will give you the flexibility to pivot without freaking out. Pivot without the panic. Let's put it that way. You can pivot without the panic. One thing about crisis navigation, I will say this: don't disappear. Keep in communication with your clients, even when you do have to take a step back, even if it's just sending out a couple emails, touching base, being able to nurture those relationships. You've built a community, continue to nurture that community. People can be pretty understanding. You don't have to come out right and say, "Oh, wow, guys, things aren't going very well in my business right now, so I'll be back." But just letting them know that there's certain deadlines you have to meet, or you can't meet certain requirements or requests on your side hustle side. As long as you keep the communication open, you remain transparent with your clients, with your community, they can also be really, really supportive as well. It's like a crisis doesn't mean it's the end. It's just another part of life. It's another one of those things that can happen, even in entrepreneurship, where things just aren't going according to plan. So being able to navigate that, being able to communicate with who you need to communicate, being able to be very, very honest with yourself with the next steps you have to do. If something isn't working, evaluating that thing that isn't working and tweaking it where you need to tweak it so that you can start back up, so you can pick back up where you left off, and staying in open communication with your clients. I know you have questions, and one of the main questions I always get, well, what's one thing I need to focus on when I'm starting a safety net, CJ? I love that question. The biggest thing is just to start. So even if you're putting aside a small amount to in an emergency fund, if it's $100, if it's $75, but regularly you're putting something aside in this fund, it's just about building the muscle, building the habit of setting something aside should something unexpected come up. I'm not trying to put the bad vibes out there. I'm not trying to call anything negative into your world. If you know me, I'm all about the positive vibes, but we also have to be very, very realistic because life be lifing. And when things don't go according to plan, you still need to be able to afford your lifestyle, be it paying your rent or your mortgage or whatever expenses you may have in your side hustle. So, yes, definitely is very important to save. Whenever you do make something from a client, you put something aside, you reward yourself when you can, reward yourself, and you're putting something back. And if you can't do that consistently, so you can give yourself that peace of mind, and you ask yourself, what's the best way to stay motivated when things aren't going well? And that really is about refocusing on your why. Why are you starting this side hustle? Why is this important to you? Why are you doing this now? Why must this work out? Why is this the offer that you want to put out there? Why are these the people that you want to serve? Why is this also what, like, and then also thinking about, like, what is your vision for this business? Where do you see it in a year, 5 years? What are you willing to do? What changes are you willing to make if you need to make any certain changes? And thinking about the bigger picture can really help you through those tough times. Should something come up and you have that safety net. My side hustle gal dem. Moral of the story is when you can put something aside, get into the habit of building your savings. When your side hustle is running smoothly, you put something aside. If it's something from your side, from your 9 to 5, whenever, if you have a little bit left over every pay, you put that after you think about all the expenses, everything else, you put something aside. You just want to be able to create that emergency fund, that safety net, to give you that peace of mind, to give you that cushion, to give you that wiggle room so that everything doesn't always feel so rushed and so panicked. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you want us to chat a little bit more, you can book a 15-minute vibe check with your girl CJ. You have more questions. You have created a safety net. You haven't created a safety net. You want to create a safety net with your side hustle. You want to start and grow your side hustle, anything with your side hustle. Let us chat. Let's get this started. Let's get this going. Let's make 2025 the year, my friend. Thanks for being here, and I will see you next week. Bye.